It is nice.
All right, are we good to get things started then?
Yes, we are.
In the room, wonderful. All right, well, happy December, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order here at 5:04 p.m. Item A, Zoom meeting information. That looks good. Item B, roll call. Chair, I am here. Vice Chair Ned Dorf.
Present.
Alder Mark Stoyer does not appear to be there. And I didn't get an excuse notice from him. I don't know if you did, Melissa.
No.
John Arndt.
Present.
Amy Cox, she is not able to make it and is excused. Corey Mim.
Present.
Julia Nordyke.
Present.
And our newest member, Krista Kananen. Did I say that right?
You did not, but that's
Oh.
okay. Kananen and present.
All right, and we'll have an intro in a little bit on the agenda
Sounds
here, but
good.
welcome. And Mark Walter.
Present.
All right. Approval of the agenda for today's meeting, December 21st. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mark, I think. Is there a second? By John on the screen. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. All right, that is approved. Approval of the minutes from our last meeting, October 19th. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
A motion by Ned. Is there a second?
A second.
By Corey, I think. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. All right, moving on to section E, announcements. Yeah, introduction of our newest Sustainability Commission member, Krista. Yeah, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you. Yes, I'm glad to be here. So Krista Kananen, I'm married into that name, so apologies. But I've lived in Green Bay for about 10 years now, downtown for 7. And I work with an organization called Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council. Our mission is to advance sustainability through the power of business. And that is in terms of providing resources, education, networking opportunities, and then additionally through our partner organization, Wisconsin Manufacturers Extension Partnership, we offer sustainability consulting services. So I believe I'm here to be the voice of business in the area, or at least do my best to represent that. Before I joined Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council, I worked at Green Bay Packaging for a little over 6 years as part of their corporate environmental and sustainability team. I was briefly at New Water before that, and before that I was at UWGB, where I graduated with a degree in geoscience. So happy to be here and glad to contribute however I can.
Excellent. We're so excited to have you join the commission and to have that business perspective as well. Do we want to do just like quick intros, folks in the room for Krista? I can start. I'm Seth. I'm the chair. I'm also a downtown resident. My day job is with an environmental nonprofit. And yeah, clean energy, climate justice are all big passions of mine, and really excited for all of the work we're doing for our climate action plan. I'm going to popcorn it to John Arndt.
Hi, Krista. My name is John Arndt. I'm the director of the Environmental Management and Business Institute and the director of sustainability at UW Green Bay. And I've worked with Mark McDermott for a number of years with your organization, so I'm very familiar with it. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you. I was hired in part to fill Mark's shoes as he moved into retirement. So there's some big shoes. I keep offering a caveat like, hey, these shoes are a little big for me right now, but yeah, I'm glad. I'm looking forward to working with you both.
All right, Ned.
Hi, Chris. I'm Ned Dorf. I teach at Aldo Leopold Community School and former Washington Street resident. We moved all the way out to just kitty corner from that neighborhood. So still living in the central city, and I have kind of a passion for pollinator habitat and renewable energy, and I try to work on those kinds of projects with the city and with the school district.
All right, and that's all the members on the Zoom, but shout out to Sally Ann Brickner, who is one of our most attended guests. Great to see you tonight, Sally. We haven't opened up the floor, so I'm not going to pass the baton to you, but I will kick it to the room. Yeah, whoever wants to jump in.
Okay, hi, I don't know.
The camera's right behind you.
Okay, can you see me a little better?
Just say your name and stuff.
Sure. Hi, I'm Corey Mim. I'm the park planner with the City of Green Bay Parks Department, which means I basically work on design and development within the parks. And I'm also very passionate about conservation work within our parks and just in general. Was helpful in getting the Green Bay Conservation Corps started, which is new, just started this fall. That program is going to be working on conservation efforts within our parks and greenways. So I get to continue to collaborate with the coordinator on that, which is quite exciting for me. So yeah, excited that you're here. Welcome.
Sorry.
I know it's kind of awkward.
Welcome, Krista. My name is Julia Nordyke. My day job, I work for UW Sea Grant, which is and I'm an outreach specialist, and I work with communities on water quality and coastal resilience. Oh, and I'm just so you know, I'm also a transplant to Green Bay about 10 years ago. So and yeah, so
We're all transplants at some point. Evening. I'm Mark Walter. I actually work for Brown County. I'm a resident. I represent the west side of Green Bay, I think, for those. And my day job involves I work for it's called Port and Resource Recovery Department. So about 2/3 of my time is spent on recycling and hazardous waste and solid waste disposal. And about 1/3 of my time is spent on Port of Green Bay activities, which this year meant a whole lot of grant writing. But no 2 days are the same. And I'm a transplantee. 34 years ago, I transplanted to Green Bay. So. Welcome.
And Krista, I'm Melissa Schmitz. I'm the resiliency coordinator, and Krista and I met last week. She stepped up and we talked for about an hour. So you know who
And I'm feeling much better now, though I did still join remotely. It's really nice to meet all of you and get to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Krista. And then, yeah, moving on to item 2, announcements. Melissa, did you put that on, or Mark?
I did. I stuck that in there. A couple of meetings ago, we had a guest speaker, Corey Groshek from Greener Bay Compost, and there was a recent development with his business. They were named the Wisconsin DNR's Recycling Excellence Award in the overall program category, and they're offering some more different parts of their residential compost pickup service. So I thought I'd add that in there just because we all met Corey and listened to his presentation. And they are, he just let me know they're starting to offer, you can, for the pickup, meat, like certain types of meat in their compost from the household collection, which they had not offered before. So.
And he's also expanded into small well, I think he's got 2 businesses he's working with. I know
Yeah.
Kavarna's one of them. I can't remember what the other one is, but
Yep.
he's done some small business pickup of compost as well.
And so if there's any other announcements from the committee at large, now would be the time. I moved the announcements further up into the meeting so that everyone had a chance to say something before the end of the meeting when everyone just wants to get to log off.
I'll mention, there is it's called the East River Collaborative. We have a website, so if you haven't heard of us before. But we are doing a winter forum on January 10th. It's virtual and it is from 9 to 11:30 a.m. So, yeah, so some of you are probably on the email list, but we'll be recording it too for those, since I know that's in the middle of the day for some people. But maybe I can send out the link in the information. But yeah, so we'll have update. It's about, and the East River Collaborative is about building community resilience to flooding for the whole watershed.
And tomorrow, WBAY is going to have one of my colleagues interviewing on what to recycle for Christmas, what to do with your wrapping paper, your lights and everything else. So 4:30 tomorrow there with Cami Rapson, one of my colleagues was interviewed today. So she'll be talking about what you should, the do's and don'ts of Christmas time recycling and what we can accept and what we cannot accept and the like. If you haven't downloaded the Better Bin app yet, do it. We're at like 1,500 users. We'd like to be like at 14,000. So
I just did it.
you just did it.
Yeah, because I had an item that I had no idea.
Yeah.
And it did not know.
And it can. I just bought my daughter-in-law a book. Yesterday, I scanned the book to show the woman at Book Stop how it works. And the book, paperback book said they were not recyclable. And actually in our area, they are. So we, there's a process to let them know what's right and what's wrong. And so we've updated it already. So if you check paperback books and Better Bin, it'll tell you to recycle. Curbside and cardboard.
That seems like I probably would have done.
A lot of places. don't.
Without thinking about it.
Okay,
Sorry.
so were there any other announcements? Okay. South, I think we can move on to the next item.
All right, moving on then, regular business. It looks like there is none. But we do have a presentation from New Leaf Foods. Riley, is that you or is there somebody in the room presenting?
New Leaf Foods canceled about 40 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Well, moving
Our guest-
right along.
And she will be rescheduling with us hopefully in another month or two.
Okay, do we need to receive this in place on file or just move along?
It was presented as an informational item, so I think we can just move along.
All right, and then we have a whole stint of things from our November meeting where we weren't able to meet quorum. Item 1, pesticide policy discussion for parks and other city properties. Is that Ned?
So I see Dan here, I believe. I
Okay.
don't know if he'd like to talk, but Dan Ditchite and I have been in communication over the last couple months, as well as Melissa about this item. And the idea this year was to take a look at what are we doing using pesticides and what can we do better? What can we, maybe we were already practices that we can codify. And so to that end, Dan and I have had some conversations, and he sent me what Appleton is doing, and we both kind of reviewed that. And then Dan's intent is to use that as kind of a model for what we could look at for Green Bay. And I'll kind of leave it at that, but because Dan is here, so I don't want to say anything more that maybe you could say, or maybe you would feel like sharing with us.
Sure, yeah, I can add to that. So I'm Dan Ditchhead. I'm the Green Bay Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Director. So as Ned mentioned, we've been talking about this for several months. Where we sit with the process right now, as Ned mentioned, is we're going to use the Appleton policy as kind of a template to start with. Now, their policy strictly addresses fertilizer and turf grass maintenance. So I know that we'd like to do a little bit more and talk about herbicides and pesticides in the parks. And of course, fertilizer is considered an herbicide. So I have started that draft. I was really hoping to have that draft at this meeting in a final review stage, but the process of reviewing it with staff is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated. So where I sit right now is I have a rough draft that I've submitted to other park staff for their review. I've received their comments and I have to incorporate their comments and tweak it. And then I'll work with Ned prior to your next meeting to maybe go back and forth with Ned and Melissa to see, is there ways that even I can improve that policy even more than the initial draft that I put together. So I'm very hopeful that at your next meeting, we'll have a policy that we can discuss in more detail. And then just as a side note, any policies that come before this committee here, I'm only looking at it from a park perspective, since parks are really the primary users of herbicides and pesticides in the city as far as the municipal owned areas. And so I'm looking at drafting a park policy, and then I'll review that with the Sustainability Commission. And that will be a referral to the park committee because the park committee reviews and approves all park policies. But I'm hoping we'll have it in such a format that that your committee will be in agreement with before it gets sent on to parks for review.
Thanks for being here and addressing that, Dan. And certainly we, as a committee would love to take a look at things. If something comes to us, we would refer it onward to the proper committee. But I appreciate you working with us to kind of get our eyeballs on it first. I appreciate that. I don't know if anybody has any other questions for Dan or myself on this particular item.
Ned, I had a question as a staff person. Was the intention for this to be mostly targeted just at the parks properties, since there are so many of them, or also for any public works facilities and properties where where pesticides or herbicides, primarily herbicides, would be used? Like, for example, we have a lot of stormwater maintenance facilities where it needs to be used to control invasive species. So what would the scope entail?
So I guess my preference would be that it would be anything owned municipally. And hopefully it'd be broad enough to allow, because some of those stormwater retention areas do use an ecological use of pesticides and herbicides. So hopefully we could craft a policy that would apply to DPW land as well as parkland. And I know we talked a little bit about, Dan and I talked on the phone. It sounds like, Dan, you'd like to focus on parkland. Am I right about that? Or what do you think the policy would be broad on land?
I think how I'm writing it, it's broad enough, but obviously I can't speak for other departments. So if you'd like Public Works to be brought into this discussion, in the very near future, I'll have a draft that I can present to Melissa, and she can bring that to Public Works for their comment and review. And maybe we can do a joint policy for Parks and INS, or Parks and DPW. It's one of those things where if we bring in other departments, we just need to get their input, before we bring it to this committee. It's doable, though. It's possible.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I appreciate you asking that, Melissa. That helps clarify.
I think too, it would be worth considering like the RDA owned property within the city as well. I think there's quite a bit of it, so maybe also taking a look at that as part of the city owned parcels.
And one thing to note with the RDA owned parcels is starting January 1st, Parks is going to be maintaining the grounds for all RDA parcels. So our policy would address the RDA properties.
Excellent. Are there any other departments that we can think of that would need to be included in this as far as review? I mean, most of the land is owned by Parks and DPW, correct? I think the vast majority.
With,
Okay.
Police and fire have a limited scope,
Mhm.
but the fire department, they each have their own parcels too for each department or for each fire station. So, but again, their usage for chemicals and pesticides would be fairly minimal because they only own a couple of properties. But we could review it with them too.
I think that would be great just to get it in front of everyone and so nobody says, hey, I didn't know about this going through and now I can't spray my driveway at the fire station or whatever it might be. We don't want to catch anyone off guard. We want to get as many eyes on it before it gets to council, I think would be great.
That's doable.
Awesome.
Julie has a question.
So it was kind of brought up earlier, but some herbicide is a really important tool, especially for restoration sites and stormwater, like we're talking green infrastructure. So when you're crafting the policy, Dan, does Appleton take into consideration that, or is that built into it? That you're not just eliminating the use of it in terms of very important conservation restoration tool.
Yeah, so how I currently have it drafted, well, first going off of Appleton's policy, they don't address it because their policy is turf maintenance policy. It's not necessarily an herbicide pesticide policy. We're just using that as a template to create kind of a broader policy for us. But that being said, we do have in my draft that I put together, I do have a statement in there saying that, herbicides are allowed for habitat restoration projects and stormwater management if it's used appropriately. So there's just a broad statement like that in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, further questions or discussions on this? All right, thanks for joining us, Dan. I hope you have a happy holidays.
Thank you.
All right, then moving along to group updates, that would be clean energy or pollinators or any other work groups that have formed. Ned.
So with the pollinator, kind of our two big goals this year were to get something crafted on pesticide use and something crafted around eliminating light pollution. So last month, Dave Hansen was able to send me some ordinances where he would think some of his suggestions for light pollution would fit best into. So I think over the course of the next month or so, I'd like to maybe send those on to Melissa, some notes on to Melissa that she could send out to the group, just to get you all familiar with his recommendations and where his recommendations would fit into our current ordinances regarding light pollution on the streetways. So it would just be taking a look at municipal lights, not really touching what types of lights to use at private residences and businesses at this point. But just starting at looking at what we're doing municipally and on the streets. So within hopefully the next month, we'll get a chance to share some of that with everyone, and then hopefully bring it up for either a discussion item or an action item in January or February. I think there's a hand up for the city of Green Bay.
Yes, that was my hand. So Ned, when you send that to, to pass something on to me, and then I would pass it along to the rest of the commission. I really am not legally allowed to do that because that's forming a quorum without publicly noticing the meeting. So if you send me a draft, or if you send me something for the group, it has to be like maybe just your subcommittee that is looking at it where you're not having a quorum. Does that make sense? Meaning we can't be doing like business without it being publicly noticed.
It's not for us to discuss over online. It's just to share like documents.
Same. I already consulted with the law department about a year and a half ago on this.
Okay. I'll bring it up for an information item then next month.
Thank you, Ned. Other questions or comments on this topic? All right, other working group updates. Melissa, did we want to talk about the survey now, or did you want to set the context for that in your update?
We can talk about that now.
Cool.
I was just gonna get something short.
Julia has an update.
Cool. Julia?
A couple things I attended, I think Melissa may talk about this more, but I did attend the kickoff to the Green Stormwater Infrastructure Planning meeting. I thought it went really well. We had 2 aldermen there, Alderman Stoyer, and I should know the other person, and I'm Hutchinson. Thank you. I totally should know that. Alderman Hutchinson was there. And so I thought that was really great, really exciting. The pollinators were brought up, and replacing turf with pollinator plantings. We have done modeling on that, like using Windslam. And there's big benefits actually just to replacing turf grass with deep rooted and native plants. So that was one update. And then I think some of the goals that my subcommittee of 1 set last year were to work on, so summarizing climate change, like information about climate data, and then also impacts. And so I have a graduate assistant who's been working on that, and he's been summarizing it for it. It wasn't polished enough for me to bring it to the committee yet or anything. And then I was working with Melissa on the flood resilience plan. That also information will go in there. He's going to dive deeper into precipitation data, and some of the things we have over the current, or like what's already been happening, how it's been changing, and then projected future changes, and then also like coastal flooding. We've been doing more like a deeper analysis on that. That's why I was looking for help on trying to figure out ice cover data for the Bay. So, and then the other thing was, I think another goal was to start to try to map and identify areas in the city with people at risk and like what the impacts to those would be. And Sea Grant has been able to, they have a draft of it. My colleague did a social vulnerability index mapping of the city of Green Bay to the census group block, which is 1 level down from the census block. And so using the CDC's social vulnerability index and stuff, so we have some better spatial data about where the areas in the city are most vulnerable. So we can start like identifying areas and lining them up with like certain hazards and certain climate impacts too. So it's in the works. It's nothing to share, but that's what we want.
Awesome. Any questions or discussion on that topic?
When are you
All
gonna-
right, thanks, Julia.
I don't know, give me a deadline. Corey asked when I'd be ready to share a deadline. So,
Okay.
as soon as I feel like I can, like. Yeah, I don't have time to get me, it would be awesome. to do this month, but February for sure.
Okay.
Okay,
Excellent.
I'll give an update on the citywide clean energy plan. This was, and this is for your benefit, Krista. About a year ago, the city applied for a grant to implement a study for a clean energy plan citywide for city operations and buildings as well as the community at large. And that as a project that the Sisters of St. Francis, I'm gonna get it wrong, the Sister Sally Ann. They were very instrumental with helping support that project. And we also had some other partners in that project as well. But as part of the project, we are going to be launching a community survey. The survey will be, there's a residential survey and then there's also a business survey that's going out. And we'd like to start launching this in January. And so we'll be gaining input from the community on what they'd like to see for clean energy initiatives through the city of Green Bay. Everything from energy efficiency to renewable energy, just a wide variety of questions. And our consultants is, they helped us put all the questions together. It will be available in Spanish as well. As part of that grant application, Sustainability Commission was also listed as putting in some hours of service towards the grant, or the match for the grant. So Seth committed some hours, John committed some hours. But what we really like the Sustainability Commission's help with is promoting it through your own channels. So when it becomes available, sending it out to members in the community. It's important that we really target people that live within the city of Green Bay. So we're not really looking for all of Brown County to weigh in on this. So business connections, teachers, Ned, that you know of, or administrators that live within the city of Green Bay to share that out with. We'll have a pre-scripted email message so that you don't have to think of like, okay, how should I, describe what this is all about. We'll have that all ready to go to make it easy for you to pass along to your networks. It'll probably be open for about a month. Another aspect of the community outreach is we'd like to set up some in-person time at some local organizations in town for maybe people that don't have computers or don't have access to a computer to be able to do that. So that would be another opportunity for Sustainability Commission members to get involved. One possibility is at the Aging and Disability Resource Center in downtown Green Bay, where we could just have like office hours and then they could come in and do the survey with a person just over the computer to make, to be able to read the survey to folks. And then we also have some other local organizations that we're looking at doing direct outreach to as well. So stay tuned on that. I would really appreciate any support the Sustainability Commission can lend to that effort, because the more input that we get, the better plan we'll have for Green Bay. Seth, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I'm just super excited for this survey. I know that I'm going to be writing down like a list of, 10 or 20 people, organizations, businesses that I'm going to personally send it out to. I think over the next month as the survey is getting finalized, like really being intentional about like who we want to be asking. I think that Melissa and the Slipstream team are going to make it really easy for us to be able to send it to a lot of folks, but really, blasting it out and then having that personal ask is, community organizing 101. So start thinking now, and then they're going to make it super easy for us to, like Melissa said, tap into our personal networks. So going to start the year off strong.
Is it phone friendly?
Phone friendly.
Like, is it very easy to take on the phone? Your phone?
It is, you know what? I don't know.
Because that's the only way you get most of the people I know to do it.
Okay, I will check that out.
You're talking mobile.
I'm
Yeah,
talking about-
yeah, I will check that out. Thank you.
Yeah, most of my friends have landlines, right?
Yeah.
Press 1 for clean energy.
It's like,
No, but yeah.
yeah, so we're all working really hard on the clean energy plan right now. This is kind of bleeding over into the resiliency coordinator updates. But we are almost done with the data collection phase, as far as all of the energy data goes for the city, city buildings and operations. And also the week before last, we completed 7 different energy audits at various buildings that are sort of tagged as high usage buildings within the city. So we completed those with the help of one of our, with our consultant as well, but we have a great intern from UWGB who's just finishing up her semester, and she did a ton of data compilation on the project. So we're really, really thankful for Haven Lanzer. And we also have, I think, UWGB helping again in the spring for another portion, right, John? If you want to give maybe just a 2-minute spiel on what the spring intern will be doing.
That's a good question. It's still, I've got a based idea of what they'll be doing, but a lot of it's going to be focused on literature review and policy searching. The intern that we've got lined up will be starting January 23rd, and will work all of spring semester. We had talked about also involving that intern in some of the survey work, and looking at analyzing some of that as it comes in. So, yeah, we've been fortunate. The interns that we had certainly this fall, fantastic, and I suspect also be very good in the spring as well. And they've really helped advance the work that we've had to do for this grant.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Any other questions or comments on the clean energy plan? All right. Awesome. Super excited about this. Thanks for everything, Melissa and John and everybody involved. Are there any final work group updates before we pass it along to Melissa for more resilience updates?
May I ask a quick question? You can tell me if this isn't the place. What are all of the work groups? And kind of, if you can give me a quick overview of how those are determined or established.
Yeah, no, great question. So they are very informal. So there's not a huge process. One of the intentions of our work with the Sustainability Commission is to, as citizens, we want to involve even more citizens, residents, organizations. So this allows us to get a lot of community input and involve more people in the work, and ultimately report back to the commission so we can have all the work being in accordance with public meetings. But the work groups roughly correspond with the different goals that we have set. I can email you that, and then I'm also happy to sit down and talk through some of that. And maybe you probably already did talk through a lot of the work with Melissa too. But the work groups correspond with like the clean energy group, the pollinator goals, the resilience and green infrastructure. And then I think those are the most active one. We also have a goal around waste reduction. I'm not sure if there's like a semi-formal or informal work group around that one as well. But yeah, I guess if there's ever a project you want to do more work on, that is an option to kind of branch out and create like a subcommittee to involve more folks in the community.
Great, thank you.
Of course. All right, other questions, comments, discussions, updates? All right, and we will then move on to Melissa for any other coordinator updates.
Okay, so Julia had already, she mentioned this early, but last week we had our citywide green infrastructure planning kickoff. And we invited various departments from within the city that, you know, from planners to park staff to public works. Finance was invited. I can't remember who was all invited. And then there were also 2 alders that were invited as well. The mayor was there. We had a great discussion, and it was really a workshop focused on what the city wants to get out of a green infrastructure plan. And, you know, looking at public lands as well as private lands. And that this was sort of like our kickoff to really set the tone for the whole project. And the project should last about 11 months, 10 to 11 months. There is a lot of mapping involved in GIS data and hydrology. So it's heavily, you know, it's a big engineering project basically, but it should be, we should have a great product in the end. And also it'll have very specific recommendations of where the best places are within the city to implement green infrastructure. So that's that along with the clean energy plan are really the 2 main things that I have going on for the next year.
Sorry, can I say a couple more things to build off with?
Sure.
Just the green infrastructure plan, like 2 things that stood out to me, like one of the priorities was definitely flooding. Which was, and then the other thing that got brought up more than I anticipated, which might be something this committee could work on, is there's an interest in like incentivizing residential green infrastructure. So that's not something like the plan will really be able to address because it's different. It's like, yeah, for various reasons, but that might be something we could think about a little bit more. And the people who were most interested in that were actually the aldermen. So that's why I bring that up, because I was like, oh, you do think maybe we should do things maybe.
The city will be launching a revolving loan fund for residential properties. But that's different than an actual incentive, you know, versus like a grant saying, here's some money, go do a project. Versus a loan, you eventually have to pay back.
Or policy
Mhm.
stuff like credit and or whatnot.
Mhm. So, but it was I've received a lot of positive feedback on the workshop in general. And so a lot of data mining going on right now to get the consultants started. And that is pretty much it for me. Does anyone have any questions? Ned?
Yeah, Ned.
Just have a question on if you have any more updates. Am I still muted or is, okay, good. On the revolving loan fund, is that, I love the idea. I think it's worked for other avenues for our city, for business and things. Is that coming up soon, the revolving loan fund?
Well, the goal, Ned, is to have it ready for the summer, but I will say that we are very short-staffed right now, and we are without a stormwater utility manager and 2 engineers, so there's a lot of work that's,
Sure.
That's the goal. But I can't guarantee that.
Okay. And then, and you said that was different. Is that what Julia was alluding to regarding incentives, or was that something different?
I don't know exactly what.
I
Julia
wasn't,
was alluding to.
can you hear me? You can't hear me very well.
I can hear you.
I wasn't referring to anything specific.
Okay,
Listen, mention something, an example of something, if that is specific. I was, in my mind, another example is doing some kind of policy or credit, like stormwater credit. That actually, other things that aren't, grants or money out the door more.
Mhm.
okay, great, great. Thank you both.
All right, any other questions or updates? All right, hearing none, we will entertain a motion for adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Not yet, Melissa.
I just thought of something
Oh,
else.
one more. Encore.
I sent you that email today about that. The Green Bay Conservation Partners is going to be doing an Elda Leopold event
Oh,
at the
yes.
Brown County Central Library. I think they do this every year.
Yes,
And it's in February. It would be a really great opportunity for the Sustainability Commission to have a table set up at that event to promote some of the sustainability initiatives that are going on, like No Mow May is going to be coming around before you know it. If we still have the survey going, encouraging people to take the Clean Energy Plan survey. So I will bring that up at the next meeting and have a specific time, but it's like a 2-hour window. It's on a Saturday. It's at the Brown County Library, and there'll be all different kinds of conservation groups there. It would be a really good opportunity for Sustainability Commission. And I know Corey was working with Alder Stoyer on seeing if we could get some funding for the commission to have a banner and to be able to do events like that.
yeah, didn't you attend last year with the rain barrels?
I did.
Yes, and I was attending with the Green Bay Conservation Corps promoting that, so it was great. I mean, it was a good turnout and a lot of
Mhm.
like-minded folks in one area, which is nice. So, yeah, that would be a good opportunity.
Did you say they have a date for that one already?
Yes, they do. Let me find it. It is February 25th. 2 until 4 p.m. at the Central Library.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, updates, discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is
So moved.
there first by Ned, is there a second? By John, all those in favor say aye,
Aye.
Aye.
all those opposed say nay. All right, we are adjourned. Have a happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe in the next couple days.
Happy holidays.
Yep, happy holidays.
Nice to meet you all.
You too.
Nice to meet you too.
So I should not. I mean, they can't see us all.